and welcome to the Astro Forecast for the week of May 31st to June 6th. So we are fresh off of that full moon, super full moon lunar eclipse in Sagittarius that happened on the 26th of May. And eclipses come in pairs. So that one was a south node eclipse, releasing everything that's no longer serving us for the collective, for us to jump forward in our evolution. The second eclipse that is coming up is on June 10th. So this June 10th is going to come up with now a north node eclipse. This is about how can we move forward as a collective into this Gemini evolutionary path, which is about communication, information, community coming together. So that's going to be building as we're going to see that sort of that second pairing or that bookend to this eclipse season coming up here in a couple weeks. But we are now into June. We're almost halfway through the year, y'all. Like, who's ready for 2021 to be done? Right? And I swear it's going to get better. I actually feel like it's going to get better in September. We still have this summer to contend with the pandemic and people trying to figure out all this, opening and vaccines and all that kind of stuff is still coming together. We're still seeing a lot of, the fallout from conflicts around the world, and we're going to see a lot more of that because that pressure of the old versus the new, old regimes, old ways of thinking coming up to be fought against, evolved into something better for the collective is going to pressurize up to June 14th is when it's going to come again exact. And that is that Saturn square to Uranus. Now, because Uranus is in the sky at 12 degrees of Taurus, and it goes very slow. And Saturn is now retrograding back to that 12-degree mark of Aquarius. So this week it's going to be 13 degrees of Aquarius because it's retrograding. It's going back. It's slow in its momentum. And what's happening then is that square is going to be exact, but in retrograde momentum. So that's going to bring up a lot of that old crap, the old patriarchy, the old government regimes, all these old policies, old ways of thinking, old traditions. That's all Saturn. And how can we evolve it to now be where we need to go to help us support the structures long term for where we want to go? We're really noticing it in the environment. If you've been watching or listening to the news, there's a lot of environmental policies that are up for tender now. And big oil and gas companies are changing their names to take oil out. So a lot of marketing tactics and things, net zero by 2050, all these accords kind of coming together. That's Taurus and Uranus in the earth, right? So helping us to evolve the collective to support the earth's health and healing. So this week, as we start off the week on Monday, May 31st, Mars is going to be trining Neptune. Now, this is a really beautiful aspect. This is going to be good. This is going to be a lighter week, y'all. I mean, heavy that it's building to these eclipses and we're in eclipse season, but this is a bit of a break this week, which is nice. Now, keep in mind, Mercury is still retrograde, and it's now it's slow in momentum, but it's moving backwards in mathematical connection to the Earth, or mathematical comparison to the Earth. As a Virgo, Mercury is my ruling planet, and every time it goes retrograde, I have a really hard time finding my words. And it's funny because I didn't know that until I started taking up astrology, and I went, oh, that's why that happens. And that's why I love astrology, because it actually gives me an reason. I didn't know why that happened, and now I understand. It's just that energy of that planet isn't coming into my collective, my psyche as it usually does. And that makes sense. And that could be the way for you too. So Mercury it rules anything that has moving parts. It's our communication, our mind, the way we think, our thought processes, emails, conversation words. And so Mercury is going to have its place in the next 4 weeks. And when that happens, when Mercury goes retrograde, this is a really great time to review, to reassess, to go over things that you've been doing that you've missed details for. And if you can do that, you will reap the rewards massively when Mercury goes forward and comes out of shadow in July. So it's going to be a great time to just slow down, to just do things the right way. Read over your emails before you send them. Read over your text messages before you send them, and make sure you are sending them to the right people, because you might get in trouble. And Mercury is not playing nice with Neptune this week, which is really leading to a lot of gossip, misunderstanding, miscommunication. He said, she said, jumping to conclusions. Don't get caught up in that. Don't get caught up in that. Just watch it. Watch it unfold. Say, you don't know the whole perspective. I don't want to talk about that because you could get caught up in a whole heap of mess if you get into that. So just be aware of that. So with Mars trine to Neptune, Mars is our vitality, our motivation, our egoic will, how we move forward in the world. And Neptune is in this lovely sign of Pisces. So this is a great time. The energy can be expressed through useful acts of helping others. Neptune is like love, devotion, it is spirituality. So if we can actually move into momentum with our intuition, going within, we feel supported in doing that now. Interesting that Mercury is retrograde while this is happening. So we are feeling this ability to really action our dreams, if you will, putting your intuition into motion. This is achievement, and it's very healing. This is a really lovely energy for healing the shadow. So all the crap that came up with that eclipse last week, this is a great day to just kind of put it down in a journal, to look at it for what it is, and to say goodbye. June 1st, nothing really big coming up on this day, but because it's kind of that 6 months into 2021, I just looked at it to see the aspects, favorable aspects. Venus is playing well with the moon, so we feel very like happy. We're feeling very light in our relationships. We feel wonderful and exhilarated by our relationships. And the moon is next to Jupiter, and so Jupiter is very much an expansive, optimistic. It can also make your emotions really big too. So just being careful that you're not like going way overboard with, oh my God, I love you so much. And then you start speaking and saying some stuff because Mercury's retrograde, and then you just go way over. So it might make people uncomfortable, but overall it's a good day. You should feel pretty nice and light in June 1st for the collective astrology. Of course, your own personal astrology, if you like your own astrological reading, I would love to support you in that. That's something I love to do for people because it really gives you that aha, just like my Mercury going retrograde, realizing, oh, that's my ruling planet. No wonder I feel like that. And I never knew, but now I know why. And I can plan for it. And I have a much better time during Mercury retrograde. I'm very much more aware of what I'm putting out. I really double check, triple check on things. And I try as much as possible not to make any big purchases or to go anywhere during that time. I mean, you can't help it. Life happens. But even when I do, I'll have triplicates of my travel documents, and I'm very patient with traveling on a Mercury retrograde. So there you go. Wednesday, June 2nd, Venus is moving into the watery, intuitive, emotionally nurturing sign of Cancer. So this is a time for the collective to move into out of this kind of scattery energy of Gemini, but curious, intellectual information of Gemini, and more into the energy of the heart, coming into home, inner foundations. How are we feeling about our nurturing our relationships? This is a great time to like just come back into yourself and see, are you doing what you know you should be doing? It's a great time to declutter the home. It is a great time to clean, and a spring cleaning I know normally happens in May, but this will be a great energy for that too. And so nurturing, protective, cautious energy, it's fertile, many emotions, ups and downs. That's one thing with Cancer, because it's so intuitive and nurturing. It's so easy to feel the emotions of others. And so whenever we're feeling kind of like topsy-turvy, or you're feeling kind of turbulent, I always say, put your left hand on your heart, close your eyes, and ask yourself, is this even mine? If you're an empath or a sensitive, you're likely feeling the energy and impressions of others. And half the time you're having experiences that aren't even yours. And you might think, if you're not an empath and a sensitive and you're thinking that's crazy talk, ask somebody that's sensitive. They will tell you that is real. So definitely a time to bring your energy back to self. This is a great time to be affectionate, to be caring and kind. devotion, and coming back into heart, into self, right? Your inner foundations, how you feel about yourself, and then your home, right? Cancer is got the sign, it's represented by the crab, and the crab has that tough outer shell. It moves sideways because it doesn't like confrontation, and then it's got that soft underbelly, right? They're so sensitive and so sweet, but they come across as got their, like, they're tough, right? They got this tough shell. So Venus in Cancer is all about what we love and value is coming into this nurturing, kind, intuitive sense. So this can lead to very emotional people during this time as a collective. So even though you're not born as a Cancerian, you might feel a little bit more sensitive to people's criticism, or you might take things the wrong way. And because Mercury's in retrograde and what's happening with Neptune this week, you can really feel triggered by something that actually was perceived to be a slight that wasn't a slight. So I'm going to say with this Venus in Cancer this season, with what's happening with Mercury square to Neptune, is just ask yourself, is this even true? Is this even mine? Am I really making something up here that isn't actually true? Because I'm willing to bet 80% of the time it's going to not be true. So just keep that in mind. Thursday, June 3rd, the sun is going to be trining Saturn. This is a beautiful day to get stuff done, to connect with people, and to really have, achievements and doing things. So Thursday, June 3rd is going to be a super good day. Okay, now because Mercury is retrograde, I would say during this time to not make any decisions that are major or life altering during this time. I had someone ask me, they wanted to get out of a relationship, and someone wanted to change their looks drastically during this time. And they had a lot of Virgo in their chart. So I'm like, don't do it. Don't do it. Wait till afterwards and then see if you feel the same way, and then do it. Changes don't have to be right away, especially major changes that are going to affect your life. But Thursday, this is a wonderful day to get things done. So sun is our vitality. It's a way that we feel about ourselves. It's our individuality. And the trine is a very super harmonious relationship with Saturn, which is our responsibilities, our duties, the way we feel, we take on responsibilities. It's achievement, recognition for our efforts, focusing on long-term goals, a good work ethic, restructuring old goals. This is a good day for that. A new home, new, more productive ways of getting things done. So this is awesome. Now Saturn is retrograde. So this is really going over that. That's why a new way of doing your responsibilities, a new way of doing the old things, looking at it with new eyes and seeing maybe your goal, your big kind of 1 year, 5 year, 10-year plan in a new way. This would be a good day to future vision. And another really great transit are the two, we call it the two benefics in astrology. So Venus is what we love and value. She bestows her gifts on people. She is good fortune. She is abundance, right? She is money. And then Jupiter is abundance. It is optimism. It expands whatever it touches, right? And so the two planets are working so good together. It's called a trine. So this is a day, a great transit day to have these two planets. This is considered one of the most harmonious aspects in astrology. So this is going to be a good day. This is going to be a really good day. Shopping, finances, if you go for an outfit or you're looking for something, this might be a really good day. You'll find it. You might find a great bargain on something that you've been looking for. A great time to mend relationships. With Mercury in retrograde, you're going over things that were said or misunderstandings, having a conversation, but you must be clear in your communication because of what's happening on Saturday. So be clear in your communication and really test for understanding. So that's called active listening, right? And just saying, this is what I heard you say. Is that correct? So you're always kind of making sure that you're not jumping to conclusions, you're taking the emotions out of it, and you're just having a conversation if you're wanting to mend a relationship on this day. Good cheer, optimism, plenty of love, express your affection. Great time for those seeking love. Investments could increase during this time as well. So is it a great time to invest your money with Mercury retrograde? I wouldn't say that. That's not a great idea to jump into new things, especially things like Bitcoin, all that stuff. Do not do it. But this is a good time that your investments that you already have, or that you move your investments into more, I'm going to say, more long-term gain plans or less risk averse plans will be very helpful for you too. So this is a good time to really get into a place of feeling very secure in your finances and putting some plans together for that. This is a good day. So it feels like, because that's Sun and Saturn and Venus trine to Jupiter, this is a day to get your finances in order, to go over those old goals and restructure them for the new way that you want to be, or maybe redefining what does a goal look for you and where do you want to go and what's your 5-year plan and what's your retirement plan look like. This is a good day to do that. All right. Friday looks like a super good day. The moon's making some really nice aspects that day. So I think a very positive feeling day. So we got some good days here in this week. Yay, finally, right? And then Saturday, my friends, not so great. Not so great in that. Now we can always make the day good. I'm going to say that. No, there's no such thing as a bad day. An astrologer that I really love myself, her name is Jessica Lanyadoo. She talks about the astrology being the weather report. And I love this analogy. So shout out to Jessica. The weather report, you don't get mad at the weather, right? It's going to rain, it's going to snow. You just put on a rain jacket or you put on your snow boots. You get ready for the weather, but you're not mad at the weather. The weather's not making anything happen. That's the same thing with astrology. Astrology is like the weather. It just tells you what the energy is going to be like for the week. And then you decide how you're going to handle that energy. So it can present itself. I was talking to one of my lovely teammates, and we were talking about how this Mercury square to Neptune, which is happening again on Saturday, is going to be an aspect for a while because Mercury is going retrograde, so it's slow. It's in retrograde, sorry, it's slow, and Neptune is super slow. So it's going to be an aspect. It was a square during the eclipse, and it's going to be an aspect for this week and probably for the next week after that too, until it gains momentum. And what that means is gossip, jumping to conclusions. And so I had said to her that there has been a number of things that have come into my awareness about family, about things that are happening that are like, it's so much gossip. And gossip means, if you just boil it down, gossip means stories about other people that they are not telling themselves. Right? And so are you listening to it? Are you believing it to be true? And do you make assumptions based on that then have now created this whole thing that this poor person has no part in? They have no idea that this is happening, right? So gossip is extremely negative because it's not actually involving the person that you're talking about, and it's making assumptions about them. And then now it is creating a whole way that you now deal with them based on that gossip. Whether you know it or not, there is still a subconscious value or belief that was created about this person from that gossip, if you believe it to be true. So I will say to you this week, when someone says, hey, did you hear that this, or someone did this thing, or this person's a bitch, or this guy's a jerk, you go, I wonder why they are like that. I wonder what prompted that. I wonder what the other side of the story is to that. Because there's always another side of the story. There's always another perception. There's always another reason that maybe you don't know about. And that's why gossip is so dangerous, because you really don't know the other side of the story and you make so many assumptions. So Mercury square to Neptune, big time this week, on Saturday, but it's going to be an aspect all this week. It was last week and it's going to be next week too. It's fading away. Well, now it's exact, because Mercury is retrograde. So this is maybe even old stories coming to light, or maybe someone talked about you and you're hearing about that and you're like, what's happening? Things coming to the surface, right? To be seen, or this is a misperception. It's not really coming to the surface because Neptune is very murky. So you're not coming to the surface yet, but when Mercury goes direct, it will. So be careful with that. But you can, lots of gossip, lots of misunderstandings, lots of jumping to conclusions, distorts your thinking, confusion, erratic energy, makes us very sensitive. Avoid gossip, avoid drugs and alcohol as well, because you're more vulnerable to the effects of it under this transit. Stick with the basics, check for understanding, be careful of conspiracy theories. There's another aspect of this, which is propaganda. And also keeping the media and journalism out of issues to find the facts of the matter. So for example, the US has initiated a report to find out what happened. Where did the coronavirus actually originate? Did it come from a lab in Wuhan, or did it come from bats, or did it come from somewhere else? We don't know. We don't know. The answer is nobody actually has the evidence to prove that. So Joe Biden has put a presidential order together to ask the intelligence agency of the US to find out what happened. Where did it come from? And so there's lots of theories, there's lots of conspiracies, but no actual facts yet. So we're going to see how that plays out, because I'm sure we'll get more information. I'm sure it'll take longer than just this week, but that's an example of how there's so many stories on the web. You Google it, even Donald Trump had a reason, had his own theories about what had happened, but there's no hard evidence. So they're going to be trying to find that. And that's going to come out, I think, when Mercury goes direct, which is in the coming month. So avoid gossip, avoid conspiracy theory. But the other part of that, China is keeping journalists out of that. It's a testing center for viruses, and not a testing center. It was a lab, an experimental lab for disease and viruses and that kind of thing, and bioweapons, I believe, are in that vicinity as well. So they wanted to go in and look at all that, and China kept them out. So that is another thing, is keeping journalism out, keeping the people from finding out the facts too. Again, that will come to light eventually. And then the other aspect on Saturday that is a little bit going to be a little bit harder to navigate is Mars opposite Pluto. This is a very intense energy. Mars is our motivation, our desire, our egoic will. It is our aggressive tendencies when it's in opposition. It is our anger. It is war. And Pluto is death. It's like, that's good. War and death opposite each other. This is gonna be nice. It's actually transformation. It's rebirth. It's the shadow, coming up. It's the scorpion that went under. It's Scorpio's ruling planet in modern astrology. And so it's the Scorpio that walked in the underworld and then got to walk in the light as well. So it's kind of that phoenix rising from the fire, right? Rising from the ashes. So it's intense passion to achieve your strongest desire. This is a powerful energy to transform, overbearing willpower. This is like over, like you have to get willpower to get through something. It's not easy. It can be overbearing energy. Be cautious. Violence is possible during this transit. Now, because the will to do and the restriction or the evolution, like there's just this real big intensity about I can't do what I want to do. And if someone has misunderstood, so this Saturday and Sunday, there can be this aspect of, let's say, road rage, where somebody misunderstands and thinks you're cutting them off, when in actuality, you just didn't judge it right, didn't do anything on purpose. They get so angry, they get out of their car, they take their baseball bat and they bash your car. That is that energy of this day. So if there is confrontations around you, back away. If you are feeling agitated, back away, because you will have a lot to repay from this. It is just a misunderstanding, and when the information comes to light, you will not be in the right. So best to back away from these confrontations. It's not going to win anything. It's not going to get anything moving properly in the positive direction. Oh, Mercury. This is also war energy. So it'll be interesting to see what's happening, in the Gaza Strip and in Israel, within Israel and Palestine, and even some of the other places around the world that are kind of hotspots. So positive opportunities with this energy, positive opportunities: maintain high moral standards, competitive, determined, courage and strength. This is being able to choose and channel this energy into something that, like, maybe even working out. This would be a great energy to work out and give you that oomph to get going. And then resistance, on the negative side, it's resistance from powerful people, fighting, aggressive violence. This is fight or flight tendency. So being careful on that day. And then this Saturn and square to Uranus, that old versus the new regime. playing out behind the scenes this whole week, becoming exact on the 14th. This is going to play out as possible violence around the world in those hotspot areas. So just noticing, not getting attached into that story and being a witness to it. And then also feeling what's happening here. If you're feeling triggered, if you're feeling emotional, if that Venus in Cancer is starting to make you feel like somebody did something to you, going, wait a second, did that actually happen? Chital said, do I know this to be true? Don't jump to conclusions. Give myself some time before you act. Okay. So I hope this helps you. There's some really great days, but there's also some intensity this week. So just taking it all as a witness, noticing how you feel in your body and taking those cues so that it doesn't get away from you. All right. Have a wonderful week ahead. Thank you for watching. Please leave a comment below so I can thank you for being a wonderful supporter. And what was the best part of this video? What helped you out? Please let me know. Thanks for being here. Bye.